And that's all you need to know about these fuckers, these funny motherfuckers. But let's learn some more anyway. So before we talk about COVID in earnest, with crass, dutiful mocking by me and my copyrighted ridiculian, so let's see why it happened and use the big brain of a wonderful fella to peek inside the adult brains of the COVID tyrants.
When you make it difficult for people in their lives
who want to fleece every dollar of the overpopulated world on the way to killing most of the sheep.
they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
And how about the sheep themselves, who were scared and only wanted to kill the unvaxxed guy who drank from the water fountain or used his mask as toilet paper, like me, but not at the same time. It's only because Costco ran out of toilet paper and because everybody went crazy.
Oh my goodness!
And masks are shit. And that's some comedy wordplay right there. Not Fauci level funny.
N95 was developed to protect construction workers from dust. Dust particles are thousands of times larger than COVID viruses.
No shit!
And it's like putting ping pong balls through a chain link fence.
But still, not bad. Anyway, he said, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be far better to live under the robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies like the heifer at Trader Joe's. I added that part. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity. Had to look that up. It's a cool word for lust for stuff, greed. Usual. Anyway, his cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for our own good. They will never torment us without, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. C.S. Lewis, fuck that, they're evil and so annoying and so self-righteous and so annoying, which is worse. Plus, their cupidity will not be satiated because power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Just see Hillary's trunk. Or don't, hopefully. My diagnosis, remember, and I'm sort of a doctor, is they want to be on the winning team to give their loser lives some meaning at all costs because they're losers. Not as poetic as C.S. Lewis, but okay. All right, so maybe we should be more thoughtful and forgiving as we watch what happens to that fundamental, sweet, even bittersweet desire of the human condition to belong. No, fuck those assholes. Not like Pride Week. Fuck, pause them. Fuck them. Anal, an analogy. Anyway, so nearly 90% of the decline in infectious disease mortality among U.S. children occurred before 1940 when they didn't use antibiotics and before vaccines were readily available.
Because if you get onto that schedule, the recommended schedule, it's $1 billion a year for your company.
To be forced into you. Jab until your balls explode. But since the coming of age of the $1 trillion vax business, autism, death by peanuts, and retardation of White House press secretaries have been increasingly on the rise. There are charts and racist whiteboards and everything. Are whiteboards racist? Ibram X. Kendi, you insufferable grifter twat with the Kamala IQ.
So racism, I would define it as a collection of racist policies.
What is the soup du jour?
It's the soup of the day.
That lead to racial inequity that are substantiated by racist ideas.
I'll have that.
Tune in later for the racism comedy special. That's hilarious. Unless I'm dead before I get a chance to film it, which is funny too, especially to my new friends in the front row. Who's left? Get him! Right. Anyway, so this is critical to set the table for the fall of us all. Again, the decline in infectious disease mortality was before use, and certainly overuse, of antibiotics and vaccines. Medical interventions like vaccines and surgeries and antibiotics helped about 1%. 1% of the decline of bad outcomes and useful, uncorruptible, common sense things like improved nutrition, sanitation, refrigerating your shitty veggie burgers. That's actually not true. They're poisonous, processed chemical crab cakes that should be dumped into a ditch full of remdesivir and covered with a mulch of vegans. But refrigerating actual food, that comes from a cow, or used to be a cow, whatever, that actually helps. Duh. But Dr. Fauci and the gang have to justify the $1 trillion fleece, enslave, and thin the herd by 90%, 99%, actually, budget.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero.
That's weird.
First, we've got population.
That's suspicious.
Vaccinologists and other vaccine enthusiasts, I believe the Native Americans called them assholes, hijacked the dramatic decline in infectious disease mortalities in the first half of the 20th century, even though vaccines weren't being used then. And said, watch this, it's fantastic shit, that their vaxes and their meds did it, made everybody better. Even though they weren't being used. How's that for a neat trick? Run, death is near you, cheeky bastards. Funny fucking Fauci, right? All right, we're almost ready to begin. But first, Fauci pushed the AZT vax through for AIDS, and everybody died. AZT was too toxic for short-term cancer chemotherapy. Too toxic, but great for treating AIDS, he said. If you want them dead, maybe is what they meant. Now think about the COVID vax. These are the same assholes who claimed you could get AIDS from drinking from a water fountain during intermission at a matinee showing of Cats on Broadway, which you shouldn't do. I mean, see the show. It's about cats. Who cares? Yeah, but, oh, right. But holy shit, when that song Memory comes through, life was beautiful then. I remember a time I knew what happiness was. Let them. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
I mean, that sounds gay. I just want you to know.
Also, I stole that observation or joke or whatever from Barry Manilow, which is also heartbreaking. Cats. So when the trannies, and I mean the trans community, comes after me, which they totally do because they're crazy town, before I'm pummeled to death with Louis Vuitton knockoffs wielded by large hairy arms, I shall shout proudly, I like gay music. Stop right there, large ladies, large muscular ladies with guns. Attack of the Zombies.
I'm sorry, I am a woman. Some dress like torn demons.
Attack of the Trannies, same thing. Speaking of not being able to sell the show, again, right, so catching AIDS from water fountains at a Cats matinee, though today, I suppose this is like claiming you could catch racism from front row seats at Hamilton, except that's actually true. Hamilton is a study in racism. I could have said master class, but that's, Better not. So back to killing people with AIDS, with vaccines, because that's the same thing as COVID. Death by cure, that is. Death by fucking cure. Fucking Fauci, you funny fucker.
There's a novel pathogen, and Fauciism always dictates that for some strange reason you throw the most toxic drugs imaginable at it.
So, of course, for AIDS, there were many cheap expired patent alternatives to treat early and prophylactically, which gays and Fauci hate, apparently. Me too, and sort of. Lives ruin everything fun, you know, scared of everything, wearing hazmat suits for Netflix and chill night, 14 Ziploc bags strapped over your dong. It's almost like another stupid mask thing to protect from nothing. Weird. Well, they do love playing dress up. I'm not sure if that counts. That's a weird one. But it's really more like anything to avoid actual human connection. But that's a topic for another show. But they're pussies, is the point. So anyway, for AIDS, Fauci and the beast stuck with the toxic and deadly AZT, unprofitable lifesavers were ditched, and killer drugs for killer pharma profits were mandated. And of course, they scared the shit out of everybody along the way. Sound familiar? It does?
It's all coming together.
And while Fauci was sucking up all the grant money and wallpapering magazine covers with his weasel face, surprise, Republican President Reagan was blamed for killing all the gays in the universe, even though he loved Freddie Mercury and David Bowie and RuPaul when he was just Paul. Anybody noticing a pattern here? I mean about forcing the deadly vax. Not Reagan loving Freddie Mercury. I'm sure he did. Everybody does or did or does. But no, I mean the stuff about Fauci, the corrupt, totally corrupt since the day he started science. The promoter of retarded lies said non-sexual, non-bloodborne transmission is possible through casual contact, like within a family household. So like slapping your little brother in the balls.
It's time for the old kick to the nuts.
Affectionately. Like brothers do, or licking your little sister's ice cream when she wasn't looking. But no mention of a dude inserting a penis into another dude's bum.
Stop saying that!
But don't sit too close to Grandma. We don't know where she's been. Although these days, she's maybe drinking from a fountain of something. Water, hopefully. Dripping off the back of a greased-up LGBTQ whose jiggling junk is bouncing off her grandchild's face in the gutter. The gutter. At the front row of the Pride Parade. Now, sure, I kind of forgot the metaphorical observation thing that we were going for.
You are right, Black.
Point is, in the 80s, Fauci said you could get AIDS from Grandma, and now you actually can. Or COVID, which you can't, unless Grandma's woke. Something like that. Anyway, patterns exist, especially when little weasel tyrants are afoot. We just have to recognize them. Patterns and tyrants and maybe tyrants? Tyrants. And maybe even feet. Patterns and clues, they're found everywhere. Fucking look for them. All right, I'll find some for you. Like maybe when you're showering in bleach and drinking Purell after your 3rd or 14th COVID rectal swab, right, Anderson?
There's fecal strep on my cell phone.
Joe?
What?
What's that all about?
Because you like a special kind of penetrative, mostly penetrative self-care. Rogan style. And also because you thought you could get COVID from everywhere, including the Hot Pocket that's been sitting in the microwave for like 2 weeks, which you can, or you should, hopefully. But guess what? You're actually only getting COVID from the Vax. Ha!
Ta-da!
You're getting COVID because of the Vaxes.
Like 50 times I've tried to explain
How
it.
fucked up is that?
Well, it's not good. Obviously so.
And maybe from Hot Pockets, so don't chew on those. They're gross. Plus, they sound like it's code for vaginas. Hot Pocket. Really lost the thread here. Any help from the front row? No? Okay. So anyway, with a straight face, the eminent Dr. Science Fauci said 1 billion people could get infected and ultimately 10 billion die from AIDS, which seems high, which everybody is, or must be, and which might explain believing any of this ridiculous bullshit. Anyway, tragedy plus time makes funny coincidences like stoking fear with total fucking lies begets billions, begets tyranny, and private islands for Fauci and the gang to hide from prosecution, I suppose, and probably some Epstein fun too. Right, Bill Gates, you sick perv. Although he has great boobs. Have some more soy.
You're eating those plant-based burgers or whatever. Got these breasts.
Anyway, if at first you don't succeed, who gives a shit? Because people are stupid, especially the scared idiots. Which I suppose is the same thing. Right, I'll turn off the snark starting now. So Mark Twain said, it's easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they were fooled. What do you think? No. What do you think, honey? I don't know why I bought this ticket, which you didn't because this is fake. Anyway, Michael Crichton, a brilliant and very handsome medical doctor and part-time author and filmmaker, said if it's consensus, it isn't science, and if it's science, it isn't fucking consensus. I added the fucking part, like never mind. And if Jeff Goldblum poses his six-pack in your dinosaur movie, I think we can all agree it's incredibly creepy.
No, that's crazy.
More science. Upping the amperage on PCR tests can show you have COVID because your great-great-grandpa got the Spanish flu from that skin-knee chicken-licking incident in 1863 or whatever. I wonder if Spanish chicken licking is finger licking. No, I don't, because who cares? It's dumb. The joke, like the joke of PCR testing from the Fauci comedy show, which now makes a little more sense. So back to getting fooled, so we won't get fucked, so we won't get fooled. I don't know. So get this, PCR tests do not measure the actual live virus in the body. Got that? It's nuts.
That doesn't tell you whether you're infected with anything. It doesn't tell you whether you're likely to get sick from anything.
They just measure bits of DNA that are kind of sort of similar to whatever it is we're pretending to look for, like AIDS or COVID or whatever form of gonorrhea has eaten Joe Scarborough's brain. Wait, can you catch a brain-eating venereal disease from close contact with a blow-up doll? An ugly, retarded one named Mika?
Right. That is correct.
Apparently, yes. See? Science is always evolving. But we really do need to wake up to these pricks. Gates and Fauci and other losers like them who run the CDC, the WHO, fungible scumbags.
Nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, vipers, snipers, con men.
Who probably took a Mika blow-up doll to prom. These are the same sadistic scumbags who partner with Child Protective Services
Muckers, buggerers, bullbags.
to take kids from their homes, poor kids, foster kids, and put them into Fauci drug trials to torture and abuse with unsupervised, that is evil, off the books drug and vaccine studies. I guess the good news is racism has been redirected with the COVID jabs, and now they're experimenting with large white women from the suburbs wearing Spanx, which is good. Not Spanx. Spanx kills. At least makes you want to gouge your eyes out, and that's also science.
That's a fact.
And Shakespeare again, Oedipus Spanx. No, close. But Spanx does make you want to gouge your eyes out, just like listening to Kamala makes you want to jam a stick in your ear.
Wait, what? No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, President Cammy.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
You colossal retard. Anyway, I know the truth hurts, but I do this out of love for the good people who got duped and hate for the tyrants who fooled. Fuck them. Fuck them. Yes, that's what they did. And even love for the obese cow in line at Trader Joe's bitching that I wasn't wearing a mask. Well, not her. Go back to the Pride Parade and have at it, my dear. All right, one more thing before we definitely begin. Plus, she was such an idiot. Self-righteous. Yeah, the Trader Joe's cow. She could have had a show on CNN. Anyway, if you're a PETA lib who hates people but will kill for animals, try this. Fauci approved a $500,000 grant for experiments where beagle puppies were strapped with infected flies to their bare skin and endured agonizing suffering for 200 days. Dear God, it's like a week of watching The View.
Hey, Stewie, 3 o'clock. Time for The View.
No, not again! Let me out of here! I can't watch another second!
Before they killed them. The pups, that is. Sadly, the members of The View live to skank another day. But Fauci tortured and killed the pups to find a disease-carrying parasite that kills humans. I suggest that the disease-carrying parasite is Anthony Fauci. And he's a big fat liar, or a little skinny liar, and he's a psycho. No, I'm not, Senator. I'm science. I'm St. Fauci of science, just like CNN said. I never lie. And also, I'm 6'6" and small forward for the Knickerbockers.
He's actually 6'5" with the Afro 6'9".
And I don't have a pile of dead bagels. Beagles in my backyard. Still not sure why he sounds Jewish, but that's on me. Plus, I was joking because I'm Anthony fucking Fauci, and I'm fucking funny, and Rogan is funnier than you. That's hurtful. Again, clean food and water and sanitary conditions are what create health. Vaccines, most don't do shit. Statistically true. Although I'm still open to separate water fountains, I don't want some jab enthusiast shedding his COVID vax filth into my beautiful face holes. But don't worry, obese ladies of The View. And in line at Trader Joe's, the unvaxxed get the spike protein through drinking water, sucking air, and licking bats. What? Just like regular people who the CDC categorizes as idiots. Actually, that's just me. But anyway, just remember, these are the puppy killers. Not funny, I guess. So, let's begin about COVID. Finally, no, wait. Did you know COVID began before COVID? Yep. Not the SARS virus thing. Obviously, the common cold flu has been around a while. I think that's why they call it common. Yep, but did you know before Donald Trump took office, Fauci uncannily, Nostradamusly predicted...
There is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases.
Published in 2016, March 14th of 2016, the SARS-like Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1, and I quote, is poised for human emergence.
Trump would face a global pandemic. Oops, that's wordplay for all of you would-be comedy writers. You're welcome. And for Kimmel's comedy writers, have you tried being funny? Or at least not prodigiously self-righteously annoying cunts?
That choice doesn't seem so tough to me.
So if you believe for 1 second that masks were anything but a useless virtual signal, sorry, you're an idiot. And if you're gasping for air behind 3 masks this second, you're a liberal, and we're all sorry. Don't bend over for these fuckers like date night at Denny's. You're giving them control of your life, your body, plus... Ouchie. Ew. Putting the anal in analogy until it hurts. Ew. All right, so how about if you were paralyzed with fear over a virus with a less than 0.001% death rate and didn't pause for a moment to consider that maybe this was weaponized by insatiably tyrannical, post-constitutional, occasionally murderous, globalist, Machiavellian scumbags. They're called Democrats and doctors against the fear-addled, weak, and uninformed, terminally ignorant, and unforgivably complicit. Maybe. Well, you were scared. You were uninformed, trusting.
What did you expect?
You know.
Morons.
Idiots. But if you're still paralyzed with fear, or possibly removing your extremely entertaining uncle's place setting from the Thanksgiving table, you're a liberal and your tofu turkey tastes like Whoopi's Depends. Yeah, too far.
Excuse me. Yeah, whoa.
I know, it must, though. It must. They must. But can you imagine? Gross. Speaking of large and monstrously grotesque, COVID is the greatest of all time, the GOAT of lies. Or COVID is the numero uno web of lies expelled from the anal spinnerets from a nest of venomous spiders preying upon a weak and fear-addled population which couldn't wait to be captured by ugly bloodsuckers.
We are starting to see new cases.
You're vaccinated, you're safe. You're unvaccinated, you're at risk.
So COVID and the vaccines were developed and unleashed by a globalist all-star team, including China.
The Chinese biological laboratory in Wuhan is owned by GlaxoSmithKline, which owns Pfizer.
He said, Robert, you need to get your team spun up because we've got a problem. This coronavirus looks like it's going to be a major issue.
Big Pharma, Bill Gates, the WHO, UN, NIH, CDC, DOD.
Billions of dollars started pouring into bioweapons research, and Tony Fauci needed to get his share. He gets $1.6 billion every year from the military.
It is a bioweapon according to strict military criteria.
With all media bought and paid to promote the fear and cover up the deaths.
Brought to you by Pfizer. CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer. Anderson Cooper 360 brought to you by Pfizer. ABC News Network brought to you by Pfizer. CNN Tonight brought to you by Pfizer.
Ha! So every single thing about COVID and the vaccine, every statistic, every opinion, every fact is a lie. Except that one. Yeah. So if you think millions have died from COVID, well, again, kind of. If you don't know millions have died and millions more will die from COVID vaccines.
That is because it is priming the immune system. The time that they would die would be within 3 years to 5 years after the injection.
Well, you know who you are, or probably don't, actually, but you're liberal. If you believe dying from COVID includes dying with the sniffles and a gunshot wound to the skull in a motorcycle wreck, you're a particularly annoying liberal who believes the Wuhan Institute of Virology serves bat burgers in the cafeteria and naming the thing researched and developed and unleashed from that sketchy Chinese lab, the China flu, is xenophobic racism in a Trump hat. So you're also a prodigiously obtuse, arrogant, and uninformed typical liberal who knows... Duh, masks are obviously scientific valid lifesavers and definitely not a vapid virtue signal petri dish for disease. And if you still can't wait to strap on 3 masks alone in your car, welcome patient zero for the pandemic of stupid. I know I said I would be nice, but I don't want to be nice. They weren't. They were murderous and annoying, which again, is so much worse. Then again, Fauci was just kidding. So, I don't know. So anyway, let's remember liberalism is a death cult of mental illness. Remember that.
Shut the fuck up!
We should film.
It has to be a joke. I cannot believe this is happening. I'm literally about to fucking kill myself.
It informs everything they think, everything they do. Seriously, shout your abortion.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
A mobile clinic here during the DNC. They're actually going to be offering free abortion medication. All of the appointments have already been booked up.
You just nailed the baby.
From the river to the sea. Death to the unvaxxed. Kill Whitey. What is wrong with these guys? And so COVID was and is the perfect vehicle for exploitation of weak and character-scared losers searching for meaning in their pathetic lives, desperate to be on the winning team. It's not very nice again, but no way the tyrant class didn't observe the vulnerability in the human condition and exploit it like they always have. Ukraine, Obama is Jesus and not a full of shit commie grifter loser gay fella married to a tranny as his gross beard. Well, I bet the tyrant class losers, and that's Obama too, same thing, could not have imagined the complete and total power and control to be seized by weaponizing a flu. Come on, no way.
The Event 201 is a simulation that they did right before COVID hit.
Or way.
And it was a drill for how to handle pandemics.
Well, it's not good.
How to turn America into a totalitarian state.
Tyrants around the world seized the opportunity presented by the disease and cure to get very rich, consolidating complete globalist rule, which you might call Israeli. Hey, did you know that half the U.S. Congress have Israeli passports? Weird. And that doesn't even count Ben Shapiro. Yet. So on with the show that obviously no one will ever see. Right, total control of your body and mind and Cardi B's cousin's balls. What the hell else is there? And they got to reduce the population to eugenicist wet dream levels, enslave whatever populace is left standing because you are already trained to accept total authoritarian control. Plus you get to steal an election or two as an added bonus. That's just a thing now. Nobody cares. So... do you think, first, do no harm, that Hippocratic doctor thing was an oath, or really just a suggestion for doctors at hospitals at NIH and CDC heroes?
We're hearing stories of patients going in the hospital, being locked down in isolation, never seeing their loved ones again, and then dying in the hospital alone.
Busy scaring and isolating and jabbing the populace to death? I think it was a joke. A fucking Fauci fucking joke. Do no harm. How about don't kill everybody? At least until Kamala can talk extemporaneously about anything and not sound like a drunk retard having wine with her Fruit Loops.
Exploring the unknown.
She could cackle on about her rise to the top as a bottom. God, I love her. Anyway, do no harm. Funny stuff, and there's that itch flaring up again, I fucking hope. So, COVID was the existential threat. They love that word.
President is literally an existential threat.
Climate change is quite simply an existential threat.
Keep using the word.
Racism continues to be an existential threat.
I was called an existential threat.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Don't they love it? Climate, COVID, white guys, the existential threat that libs had always dreamed it was scary and mysterious and seemed real enough to put the imaginary climate change monster back in Greta's toy box for a minute.
How dare you?
While we marched in lockstep together to save the world. Was COVID the deadly disease monstrosity that the scientific consensus demanded we heed? Is it now? What is COVID anyway? Was it a pandemic? How about the next one? What time is that one coming? Or was it just a test run to see how much they had to scare us to beg to give up all control, like Biden's bowel? Although I think that actually happens on its own. That's another show, Biden's bowel. I wonder if he'll be dead before this show airs or doesn't air. Poor Dr. Jill. Boo-hoo. Whore. God, what a couple of shitbags. Anyway, so was getting vaccinated the best protection? What about the 5th jab or the 19th or whatever? Did you have your monkeypox chewables today? Disease X is on its way. What then? More importantly, did many get sick or even die from some iteration of the thing called COVID? Or more importantly, less bullshittedly, did they die because of what we did and didn't do while racking up the COVID death count? Cook numbers and ever-changing naming conventions and narratives, of course. I know, they do not diminish the real human cost of the awful reality experienced worldwide in the days of COVID. But, as with every liberal cause, even if initially well-intentioned, like saving the world from a deadly disease, the righteous cause is inevitably corrupted and devolves into the opposite of the original intention. Always the opposite. Always protect the trans kids by shooting them up with hormones until they're shooting up schools and churches and...
Every single mass school shooting in the last 2 years has been carried out by a transgender individual.
Identifies as transgender.
Cutting off their junk is an act of love. Come on. Adam Kinzinger had his penis removed. And now look at him. Sure, he acts like a vagina, but that doesn't mean he has one. But bad guys planned the COVID thing in advance, or sure as fuck seized it. Anyway, nothing in world history epitomizes the weaponization of well-intentioned, naive liberalism for nefarious gain more than COVID. C.S. Lewis again. They torment us, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. Plus, they're assholes. That's me, again. But hey, I wonder, did COVID gain-of-function research include weaponized extra functionality to the disease that is liberalism for added benefits of total authoritarian control, depopulation, and minting billionaires by batches of jabs? Come on. Yes, of course it fucking... The disease and the cures were and are diabolically targeted biological weapons deployed into the body and body politic, which is even worse, by tyrants to take over individual bodily autonomy. Without that, no other freedoms exist. We gave up control of our bodies. Like, oh, pick an actress going into Harvey Weinstein's office for a tryout. All right, Marissa Tomei.
Are you sure?
Who is wonderful, by the way, but an Academy Award for My Cousin Vinny. Come on. Actually, yes, that's a terrible idea. She's awesome, and
It's a fact.
that's a dumb example. But Meryl Streep can suck it, and I don't want to think about that. No one should. Ew, I don't want to... Anyway, COVID. Right. So, can you believe all it took was a 4-foot, possibly psychotic yard gnome with some tall tails? Get it? More comedic wordplay, which sounded enough like science to scare the entire flock into total submission. Eat your heart out, Napoleon. Here comes Fauci and Bruno Mollies with 6-inch lifts. I'd actually like a pair of those, but I'm nice and I rarely commit genocide, so it's not the same. I just want to be a little taller. That's all, right? You know, just like Rogan, the little guy of big anal probes. Or just like Fauci, the little guy of big lies. Remember, Joe Biden is the big guy in all those emails and interviews about Joe's 10% of Hunter's Chinese grift crack money laundering for the Biden crime family of pervs. Anyway, Joe Biden is the big guy, or was. If he's dead, that pervy piece of shit. So since maybe COVID is for dummies and cowards and was weaponized by opportunistic, insatiably tyrannical, post-constitutional, occasionally murderous, Machiavellian, globalist scumbags, well, definitely. So let's spend some more time with the little guy of big lies, NIH director, eminent part-time virologist, prodigious liar, Department of Defense political hack, playmate of the year, the face and name of science itself, the funniest fucker on planet Earth, Anthony Fauci, who ran the whole fucking thing. Remember this? Exercise and sunshine are bad for you. Don't go outside, don't go to the gym, and don't even get me started on hydrochloroquine or that natural immunity nonsense. Said the Lord of Science. The fucking balls on these villains. Impressive. Gotta take them down. Maybe.
Enlarged scrotum syndrome.
Don't they chafe? Probably should check with Cardi B's cousin because his exploded. You know.
The inevitable conclusion.
Okay, so remember, and this is so messed up, like exploding balls. Fauci followed the same disregarding and denouncing of effective treatments in lieu of forcing vaccines for the AIDS epidemic a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Actually, it's pretty much Groundhog Day, right here, right now, over and over, again and again. And remember that little sociopath king of comedy, Fauci's congressional jousting with Senator Rand Paul? Senator, doctor, the medical doctor of the quaint, do no harm ethical ilk, and also of great hair. But there's Fauci lying and lying like that third wife, first stripper. Fauci demanding with that dripping with condescension, irritating tone, the NIH and CDC or any of Fauci's favorite funding subsidies never engaged in gain of function research anywhere and definitely didn't fund gain of function research at the Wuhan lab. Oh, hey, did you know recently the U.S. government announced stopping funding for the Wuhan lab despite never funding it? That's awesome. This guy is hilarious. So I don't know if you heard, but herd immunity. I wonder, does Johnny Depp have herd immunity?
She brought up the situation of the
bowel control issues.
Tried to blame it on the dog.
Man, this is a masterclass in comedic wordplay. So normal herd immunity, not terrible actress had because she married an old guy, and is crazy, legit crazy.
Do you think it could have been the dog?
The teacup York.
Anyway, regular herd immunity is established scientific fact. Despite Fauci protestations, or jokes, apparently. But Fauci, for some reason, went with his totally unbiased, not murderous at all, cash and grab objective of promotion of vaccines as the only choice in efficacious remedies anyway.
The only conclusion one can reasonably come to is please get vaccinated.
Forgetting gaggles of liberal idiots around the world who ate up the one vaccine to save them all idiocy like the herd of heifers crushing the dessert table backstage at The View. Disregarding herd immunity is not just dumb, it's dangerous. Dangerously dumb, like Kamala flying Air Force One after another box of wine for breakfast. So here's a quote from an actually eminent doctor guy. Any pandemic response should include herd immunity to get through the pandemic with as few deaths as possible. Dr. Martin Kulldorff, the big dummy, foolishly suggested engaging whatever strategy used will end with herd immunity. This is even better. So funny. So denying herd immunity as the goal of pandemic response is like airplane pilots debating using the gravity strategy to land.
By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
Since, you're trying to land with as few casualties as possible and limit the number of shredded corpses strewn about the cabin. Although if you've flown recently, maybe thinning the herd, a little bit, isn't such a bad idea. But instead, all that funny fucker Fauci's denials of effective prescriptions and prophylactic mitigations and mediations worked in concert, but like a shitty one, a really shitty one, like Spin Doctors opening up for Limp Bizkit with KJP, Skyping in an introductory complaint about the lack of retarded lesbians at the show.
It is entirely normal.
But Fauci's lack of remedies worked in concert, not at a concert. Shut up, I'm trying to force a point here.
What would you say you do here?
But Fauci's lack of remedies worked in concert to grow the pandemic and delay reaching herd immunity as long as possible to cash in on vaccinating the planet. Seriously, the entire planet of Earth, forcing one vax to save them all for everybody to make them buy your stuff. Although the only problem with the best marketing rollout ever is when your products kill everybody. Well, not everybody, yet.
Mounting evidence suggesting greater and greater deaths are accumulating.
Well, but no wonder that little prick went psycho. Power corrupts and absolute power makes you pay for the thing that makes your balls explode. I think that's the quote, something like that. But along with dissing herd immunity to death, viable remedies were discounted, dismissed, and belittled. Remember, that's a favorite technique of the tyrants and their relentlessly annoying followers. Possibly in the front row, libs, which is why we're doing that too, mocking these pricks. Fuck them. So Fauci and the gang, the lying sacks appealing to authority of other lying sacks. I mean sacks of shit, not sacks like Cardi B's cousin's balls. The media, the government, the pharmas, the medical doctor fucker lying sacks did and didn't do everything they could.
The suppression of early treatment through the press and through various government outlets
to force everybody onto the path to vaccinate the world.
Propaganda always entails censorship.
Now, since our brains are free of critical thinking muscles, that's a thing. Shut up. Fauci famously promoted, demanded in that little shit's I'm so reasonable and folksy bad act, masks were necessary to prevent COVID transmission.
1 mask is better than 0 masks. 2 masks is better than 1 mask.
You are one pathetic loser.
One could make a mild illness more severe. It's called reinoculation.
Is that right?
Locking down, closing schools and businesses, confining people to their homes, stopping them with armed security from seeing grandma dying in the hospital. Jesus, stopping non-COVID medical care. Don't check on your cancer. A trip to the hospital might make you sick. What the fuck? People, you remember that? It's literal insanity or incredible comedy. I'm actually not sure anymore, but either way, it's kind of amazingly dumb. How's that itch feeling? Is it flaring up a bit? I fucking hope so. Infamously, it began with 13 days to stop the spread. I promised my buddy no more Kamala jokes, like she took the term political whore literally. But come on, 13 days to stop the spread had nothing to do with Kamala? Fine. No, I can't help it. So Kamala was 20-something and dating 60-something political kingmaker of California, Willie Brown.
And that reminds me of a story that's so dirty, I'm ashamed to think of it myself.
And then suddenly, California had its first retarded attorney general. Seriously, have you heard our genius VP or president or whatever, the one who stole the presidency from the guy who stole the presidency from the guy right before her? Awesome. Good job, Democrats. Anyway, I give you Kamala.
So, Russia is a country in Europe. Russia is a big country. And Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine, which is bad.
That's wrong.
Oh, shut up, you colossal retard. You remember when you realized space is big? So, anyway, COVID. So the Fauci brigade of lying sacks went on demonizing important mitigations and, more importantly, engaging weaponization by government, media, medical heroes, and idiot neighbors to shut down any questions or concerns by way of ridicule and a boot on the throat, which of course only stopped the spread of reasoned debate and increased the spread of stupid. Pandemic of stupid, technically, which is really, really bad. But even before numbers were cooked and data were demolished, you were more likely to die from a lightning strike than COVID. Unless, of course, you were given remdesivir, put on a ventilator for the sniffles, or a resident at the Como Home for the Aged. That is a statistical fact. Like 100% of people wearing masks while alone in their Prius are 100% retarded. And annoying, which, of course, is worse. So, right. So more recently, Dr. Science has been on a revising history tour, welcomed with open arms by the CNN loser worshippers who help perpetuate the fraud. Of course, they're still in on the scam, the media, the government, their corporate overlords.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Media, losers, same thing, are insufferable twats like the bitches on The View, including Kinzinger. Anyway, from the Fauci memoir, things I never said, but actually said and totally said a lot. I never said 13 days to stop the spread. I never said vaccines vaccinate. I never said masks are as stupid as the people who wear them. I never said lock down schools. I never mentioned that vaccines might turn your blood into linguine. And even though I am science, I never mandated no hospital visits with family, especially if they're dying alone in the hospital. No visits with family, especially if they're dead in the hospital. No. I told you he's trying to kill you. No for church, but yes for strip clubs and liquor stores. So you might have gotten that one right. Kinda. No traveling or talking on the phone about traveling. No licking bats or kissing your kids goodnight, especially if they sleep on Batman sheets like I do. 16 masks and a rectal swab before you go outside. 17 masks and 14 jabs before you go inside. And one more rectal swab, but just for fun. Right, Anderson? Rogan? He did say, Fauci, not Anderson Cooper, although he probably did too, that questioning him was questioning science.
But they're really criticizing science because I represent science.
Which is funny, funnier than me, but I'm still funnier than Jon Stewart and Bill Maher. I know, everybody is, but nobody's funnier than Fauci. But the lies, the endless list of Fauci lies, the unassailable proclamations, punishable by death for anyone crazy enough to question anything he said through a mask which has dropped dangerously below their nose. Like natural immunity offers little protection compared to vaccinated immunity. The balls on this guy, Fauci, Dr. Science, said natural immunity does not exist. He said it a lot. Only vaccines provide immunity, not what we've observed since the beginning of time. Good one, Fauci. Funny, speaking of which, I wonder if breastfeeding is useless too, since infant immune systems are developed and nourished by their mother's breast milk, plus boobs get bigger, win-win. Until they don't and they're dragging on the floor.
Very interesting. Hashtags, saggy boobs, massive.
But still, babies seem to like it, and they're there early when it's great, and then they ruin everything, and I forgot what we're talking about.
Here's a good idea. Have a point.
Right, fucking lying fucking Fauci. He said school closures reduce COVID transmission, myocarditis from the vaccines is less common than from the infection.
It invades the heart. It causes brain and heart damage.
Young people benefit from a vaccine booster even with a 0% chance of death, which is small. Young people get myocarditis all the time and have heart attacks too. Of course they do. Do you see what they did to you? No? Well, how about a few more jabs? Wordplay. Fucking Fauci wisdom included. Vaccine mandates are not necessary unless people want to live. But data on the bivalent, Bell Bib, debivalent. You're dead. I don't know.
Get vaccinated. It will protect you.
If I were you, I'd take precaution.
But vaccine data are totally crystal clear and super true, and 1 in 5 people get long COVID even if you've never had it. And even if the fake tests are not fake working, you'll always have it, and there's no escape. It's like being an intern in Matt Lauer's office when he hits the door lock from under the desk and breaks out the sex toys.
You had a huge bag of sex toys, and do you remember this?
We had a guest on the show who was a sex therapist.
You serious?
God, what a piece of shit. Cosby and Diddy are going, why didn't I think of that? Lock the bitches up. Hashtag irony. And finally, the good Dr. Fucker Fauci noted that it's important to get the second jab 3 to 4 weeks after the first dose because that's when Big Pharma big bonus checks are issued. I think he said that. Pretty sure. But really, I'm not immune to the real suffering that innocent people endured. Really. Teachers are at especially high risk for contracting COVID. They told us.
Safety. If I died from catching COVID-19.
As they kept kids out of school to lose their little minds while lazy fat-ass teachers went on another paid vacation.
Keep our students and our teachers safe. You can drop my dead body right here.
Sadly, thankfully, teachers are not especially high risk. But there's still hope for diabetes taking out the teachers union. Thoughts and prayers, hope and change, fucking you. All right, more COVID bullshit. Fauci and the CDC received $300 million from pharmaceutical companies, plus residuals. Plus, I think they get bonus points for everybody who doesn't die until jab number 12 check clears. Yeah. Hospitals cashed in way more, and that's coming up, and your heads are going to explode like COVID balls. So, of course, COVID was born of NIH funding and not from slippery, wet bats flying in the front door of the Wuhan lab, which would be gross. Bats are gross.
Lifeless beady eyes, clawed feet, huge grotesque wings, fangs.
Let's just shut the door. The bullshit is endless. Hospitals were overwhelmed? No, unless they scared the shit out of everybody and caused a rush. It was empty beds in that giant hospital battleship that Trump parked outside of New York. So remember, the truth is always inverted with these pricks. Always. COVID would have been gone if not for injections, because it's the flu. Yes, a shitty one, but the flu. Although probably not anymore. Spike proteins, gain of function, gene therapy.
Proteins with sequences like that are known to be acutely toxic. It causes cancer.
Nanobots. It's mutating and getting uglier by the second, like pride parades.
Open penis showing at the Pride Parade.
Man, those are going foobar. It's like Caligula on roller skates. Fucking A. All right, it's a little in the weeds, but that's where you find the weasels and the snakes. But they said EcoHealth Alliance hero and definitely not partner in crime, Peter Daszak, was not working with the Wuhan Institute, despite the fact that the NIAID funded the EcoHealth Alliance. Plus, there's a collection of love notes he wrote to Fauci. Dear Tony, my body still feels your warmth from when we spooned to sleep last night. Sad to find you gone when I awoke. Hopefully you were off lying to Congress about the bags of cash you gave me, or maybe getting your Brazilian redone. Things are getting kind of itchy down there. Could be a vaccine side effect. And yeah, right, do you think Fauci and his ilk took the vax, or at least the same one you did? No. No, joke's on you. Again, did you see the Pfizer leaked emails about the special vax batch for their people? Did you see the dutiful debunking 2 seconds after they were leaked? I did. But don't worry, the good people who gave out HIV-tainted blood with school lunches would never do such a terrible, unbelievably shitty thing. I know, nobody was getting a carton of AIDS with school lunch. They just gave tainted transfusions to hemophiliacs, like my friend Tim, and thousands of other poor souls who suffered and died. But tainted? So since this is a comedy show, any reference to taint, much like sack, is just great. Okay, kitty, everybody in line for anal swab. Bend over for your buddy. Clean those taints. I threw up in my mouth just a little bit. So, COVID allowed Fauci and the tyrant class to capture the health system and, as a bonus, remove Donald Trump from office for being big-hearted and dumb enough to get played by opportunistic Machiavellian villains. Did they plan it? Who cares? Well, maybe we should, because they played us all and they're gearing up to do it again. Have you noticed that?
You find yourself alone.
New deadly variants are on the way.
A new COVID variant has caused cases to double in the past 2 weeks.
We're all gonna die!
The new variant of COVID-19, XCC, has spread to 27 countries.
Do not be troubled!
Classified as more contagious.
Oh, you are in Elysium!
Emergency departments here and around the country are seeing a growing number of COVID cases.
And you're already dead!
Have you seen the idiots breaking out their idiot masks again? Did you see one of those idiots in the mirror? They can't wait. You can't wait. They love playing dress up. Remember at the beginning, Fauci insisted that there's no doubt masks work.
Masks are protective. The Academy of Pediatrics actually makes that recommendation that children should be wearing masks from 2 years old.
And in the end, big surprise, since the size of the virus was tiny compared to the holes in the masks, a thing you might have noticed when your face holes were ablaze with the smell of pizza through your stupid mask a half mile away from the oven. Right? It was ridiculous. It still is. That's science. And here comes some more science, and you better follow it because it's science. The Cochrane study by an Oxford epidemiologist.
He really is an idiot.
Said there is no evidence that masks work, cloth, N95, or any stupid gear that makes one look like a poser idiot in a welder's helmet. He didn't say that last bit, I did. As I noted, much to the hate of people who stopped loving me or liking me or inviting me to Thanksgiving, masks are incredibly dumb and completely useless, like Karine Jean-Pierre.
And the Nobel Prize artist, kind of Nordstrom Warren. Clearly, I would let the
Good news is, masks are good for something decidedly medical and sciencey, because they turn every little breath you take into a high-powered sprinkler aerosolizing stupid and germs and bacteria and skanky filth of the host idiot 20 feet around for all to enjoy. It's fucking nuts. While you're inhaling CO2, which is bad for you. Good for plants, bad for you. You dummies, the mask capture disease. They found tuberculosis in those things. Herpes in Kamala's mask, I bet. Anyway, never found COVID in there. Funny, but the fucking mask collected toxins and boogers and stupid, huge amounts of stupid, and then spray it all over everybody. So perfect. At least clean them out in the filthy water fountains, even the AIDS ones. Still cleaner. All right, okay, so now it gets gnarly. Gnarlier. It's a hard G. It's a hard G. No, it isn't, Snoop. It's a soft G, like Kenny. Another timely reference. Never mind. So, if you recall from a couple hours ago on our COVID adventure, we learned that the world stopped doing autopsies and began cremating bodies at hospitals during COVID. Gosh, that's efficient. But not evil, not at all. And not at all like Hillary boiling her computers infected with incriminating evidence in acid. Or maybe it's more like burning the bodies of people you disagreed with. Just kidding, no mob boss would do such a thing. And no more time for really shitty analogies. Death certificates were changed to COVID deaths for every cause: motorcycle crash, suicide, and accidental guillotining at medieval times. Come back here! Come on, this is ridiculous. So remember the PCR test scam? So Archimedes famously said, numbers don't lie. Sure they do, said the lying a-holes at the CDC, NIH, the WHO. The only time they actually told the truth. Did you notice that when the narrative needed the number of cases to go up because somebody needed it to look like COVID was spreading everywhere?
It doesn't test for anything. It finds what you tell it to find.
And we needed to lock down to stop asymptomatic killers from killing grandma. Maybe just cash in on the hospital gold rush and force everybody to buy a couple billion more vaccines. So when that was going on, miraculously, the number of COVID cases went up. It's amazing. And when the powers that lie wanted to show vaccines were working so they could mandate more, the numbers went down. What a retarded coincidence. So as it turns out, if you increase the number of cycles on the PCR test to 60K or so, if your mom had a headache when you were a fetus, you now show a positive COVID result, lower the cycles, and all better. They do the same thing in Africa, by the way, change the test, and everybody tests positive for AIDS. More vax, more cash, more eugenics, vax, cash, eugenics, rinse and repeat in a separate water fountain. How's that itch coming along? Scratching the shit out of it? Hopefully, I hope it's as bloody as P. Diddy's bum after a 5-day freak-off, this time in prison. Another Democrat favorite, of course, but he'll be sleeping with the Epsteins. I still can't do a Brando voice. Can't even do Fauci. So, let's talk about hospital whores. I mean heroes. And more. Like murderous more. Following the money, COVID-style hospitals receive $35,000 for each COVID diagnosis and a bonus for prescribing remdesivir, even though it tends to kill people. They receive a bonus. Jesus, fuck. Do no harm before you get paid, apparently. More comedy gold, I think. But that's just the start of cashing in on skipping over that hypocrite, hilarious, do no harm nonsense. So, okay, all right, JFK died of COVID. Lincoln too. Obviously. I know, it's just a dumb joke, but is it any dumber than this one? Did you hear the one about the motorcycle wreck that severed the guy's head, which is really bad for you, worse than COVID, I think. So the heroic hospital administrator chirped with glee at the thought of another trip to the cash machine. We'll just mark that one down as one more COVID casualty, said every hospital on the take, which means all of them. For that story, by the way, a real story. And gunshots and suicide because they must have been scared of getting COVID. The bullshit piled as high as the corpses. Fast track for crematorium ovens all became COVID deaths. Well, why? It all adds up, doesn't it? It adds up to a lot. Piles of cash, piles of dead bodies. Yay, healthcare heroes. Oh my God.